Well, it's not just Iran, but also its proxies in the region that have been reacting to Israel's war on Gaza. Since November, Yemen's Houthis have been attacking vessels in the Red Sea in what they say is a show of solidarity with Palestinians facing Israeli aggression. The sea is an important link between Africa, Asia and Europe. It accounts for 30% of the world's container traffic and 10% of its oil traffic. The Red Sea is only 32 kilometers wide and ships must travel through the Bab al-Mandab Strait. The Houthis have used missiles and drones to attack vessels it says are linked to Israel. More than 80 attacks have been recorded so far. In one, fighters boarded a British-owned ship by helicopter and detained the crew. Since November, traffic in the Red Sea has dropped by 78%, and the Suez Canal has recorded a 23% decline in revenues. In response, the U.S. established a multinational patrol force to shoot down Houthi missiles and drones. The fighting is some of the most intense the U.S. Navy has been engaged in since the Second World War. Well, let's speak to Burak Sakir about this. He's a maritime security analyst and associate professor at Ankara Hacı Bayram Veli University. He's joining us from the Turkish capital. Thank you, Burak Sakir Seker, for being with us on Al Jazeera. So nearly a year after the war on Gaza began and attacks by several members of Iran's linked so-called axis of resistance, including Yemen's Houthis, to pressure Israel, have not really led to the intended ceasefire. On the contrary, we've seen Israel ramp up strikes against the Houthis in Yemen. What do you think are the Houthis' calculations right now in light of the recent developments in Lebanon?
Thank you for having me. When it comes to the Houthis' response, is the part of the spillover of the Israel-Hamas war in the region. It is the further step of Iran-Israel proxy conflict, and it is the extension of the Yemeni crisis, actually. The Houthis have controlled a considerable territory of Yemen along the Red Sea since 2014. And the Red Sea crisis began almost 10 days after the Gaza invasion. The Houthi movement in Yemen launched missiles and armed drones at Israel, demanding an end to the invasion of the Gaza Strip. The Houthis have since this day seized and launched aerial attacks against dozens of merchant and naval vessels in the Red Sea, particularly in Bab al-Mandab. And there are some strategic choke points in the region, such as Suez Canal and Bab al-Mandab, that are affecting the global economy directly. So as an answer to these attacks and the importance of the choke points, hundreds of airstrikes and other missile sites targeted by the US and the allied forces.
How much of an impact could the Houthis play in a direct, full-blown conflict between Iran and Israel, if there were to be one? How would they respond?
Actually, the right answer could come from the numbers. When we look at the numbers from the beginning of the crisis since the last year, we saw 87 attacks that came from the Houthis attacks. 87 attacks, and mostly they missed some fires, but in some cases they hijacked, they hit, they created some minor damage, and they even sunk some ships. So in 87 attacks, we can elaborate this number to the other years. We could see some additional missiles, not only to directly these ships, but also into the capital cities, as we saw lastly in Tel Aviv, just this very same day of the Benjamin Netanyahu came from US visit. So the effect of Houthis on this crisis will be crucial through the proxy approach to this crisis.
Okay. Just briefly, what would a further escalation mean for the war in Yemen and the truce between the Houthis and Saudi Arabia? Briefly, if you can.
Okay, the Yemen is actually a very deteriorated place. Just before Gaza occasion, we saw a humanitarian crisis there, and this Gaza conflict can exacerbate tension in Yemen's because it is already fragile sectarian landscape. And there's a division between Sunni population and the Zaidi Shia movement, Houthi movement. And the axis of resistance, as you mentioned in the beginning, also affecting this region, in addition to Russian and Iranians involvement. So at the end, this war, this crisis also could remain Yemeni civilians in the hampering on the famines, diseases, and the displacements.
We're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Burak Sakir Seker, a maritime security analyst, joining us there from Ankara. Thank you for your time. Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.